So have you ever spent hours, maybe even all night, just rereading your notes, only to feel like you've forgotten everything just a week later? Yeah? Well, if that's you, then you're in the right place. We're going to break down why your favorite study method is actually failing you and what science says you should be doing instead.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a statement that might sound a little crazy. Rereading feels super productive, right? But it's actually one of the least efficient ways to learn anything. But don't worry, we're going to replace it with 3 evidence-based methods and a full 7-day action plan that will help you build knowledge that actually sticks.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to pull back the curtain on the trap of rereading. Then, we'll dive into the 3 powerful techniques that are proven to work. And finally, I'm going to give you a concrete step-by-step plan to put it all into practice. Let's get into it.
So why does the most popular study technique on the entire planet actually sabotage your learning? Well, it all comes down to a really clever trick that your brain plays on you. You see, rereading builds a sense of familiarity, which makes you recognize information. You look at a page and think, yep, I've seen this before. But, and this is crucial, recognition is not the same as learning. True learning is the ability to recall information completely from scratch with no hints or cues. That is the huge difference between knowing the answer and just knowing you've seen it before.
This mental trap actually has a name. It's called the illusion of competence. It's caused by something called perceptual fluency. Okay, think of it like this. You hear a song on the radio, you totally recognize the tune, you can hum along, but when you try to actually sing the lyrics, you only know like every 5th word. That's perceptual fluency. It feels familiar, but you don't really know it. You mistake that easy feeling for actual mastery.
And here's a perfect way to think about it. You can watch your favorite movie 10 times. You'll recognize every single scene, every joke. But could you actually sit down and write out all the dialogue from memory? Probably not, right? Learning requires you to be the scriptwriter, not just the person watching the movie.
All right, let's get into our first and, honestly, most powerful alternative. I want you to think of active recall as taking your brain to the gym. It's a real workout, and it's what builds that memory muscle.
So here's the big paradigm shift we all need to make. We have to reframe what a test actually is. Stop thinking of it as just something for a grade. Decades of research show us that the very act of trying to pull information out of your memory is what makes that memory stronger. This is a powerful learning tool, often called retrieval practice.
So how do you do it? It's 3 simple steps. First, you take your notes, your book, whatever, and you turn it into a list of questions. Then, and this is the important part, you close the book and force yourself to answer them from memory. Finally, you check your work. That little bit of struggle, that effortful retrieval, that's what tells your brain, hey, this stuff is important, stored somewhere safe. For example, don't just passively reread that history chapter on ancient Egypt. Turn the headings into questions, like, what were the 3 main functions of the Nile? And this works for anything, not just school. If you're learning to code, ask yourself, okay, what are the 3 arguments this function takes? Answering these from memory is the real work of learning.
Okay, so you're using active recall, which is awesome. But when you do it is just as important as how you do it. And that brings us to our second method, smart spacing.
We've all done it, right? Cramming everything the night before a test? Well, the spacing effect is basically the scientific proof that cramming is a terrible long-term strategy. When you spread your study sessions out, you actually allow yourself to forget a little bit in between. And researchers call this productive forgetting. It makes the next time you try to recall the information a little bit harder, which in turn makes the memory way stronger. And you don't need a complicated app to do this. Here's a super simple schedule you can use. Learn something new on day 1. Then do a quick active recall session on day 3, then again a week later, and so on. This rhythm helps your brain consolidate memories over time, and it's how you make things, like a new language or chords to a song, a permanent part of you.
All right, and now for our final method. And I gotta warn you, this one goes against how pretty much all of us were taught to study. It's time to stop studying in neat little blocks and start mixing things up.
So instead of spending an hour on one topic and then an hour on the next, you should actually mix them all together in the same study session. This is called interleaving. And look, it's gonna feel more chaotic, it's gonna feel harder, but that is exactly why it works so well. The classic example is in math class. You don't do 20 addition problems and then 20 subtraction problems. You mix them all up from the very beginning. This forces your brain to learn which strategy to apply, not just how to mindlessly repeat one strategy over and over. It's about practicing for the real exam or the real world, where problems don't come in neat pre-sorted little packages. Okay, theory is great.
But let's make this super practical. Here's a simple 7-day plan that combines all 3 methods, active recall, spacing, and interleaving, into one powerful study cycle. Check this out. On day 1, you just learn the new material and create your questions. On day 2, you start the spacing with a quick 15-minute recall session before you learn something new. By day 4, you're already doing interleaved practice, mixing up questions from both topics. You see how this cycle just builds on itself, creating layers of understanding that reinforce each other? It's so much better than cramming.
But, okay, what if your exam is in 3 days? First, don't panic, and please do not just reread everything for 72 hours. Here's your emergency plan. Day 1, triage. Focus only on the most important concepts and do one big active recall session. Day 2, space out 2 more sessions, one in the morning, one at night, and start mixing the topics. Day 3, a final mixed review of just the stuff you're struggling with. Seriously, this is your best shot.
Let's wrap this all up with a really important mindset shift. If you've spent years struggling to remember what you study, I want you to hear this. The problem isn't you. It isn't a lack of effort. It was a lack of the right strategy.
So, based on a massive scientific review of what works and what doesn't, here are the low-value habits you really need to drop. Passively highlighting everything in sight, those marathon 8-hour study sessions, and only rereading your notes without ever testing yourself, it's time to let them go.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You are not lazy. You just had the wrong tools for the job. You have the capacity to learn anything you want. It's just a matter of switching from those passive, comfortable techniques to the active, challenging ones that actually work. This is all about working smarter, not just harder.
So now, it's your turn. Which one of these methods are you going to try first? Are you going to start with active recall? Or maybe try out that spacing schedule? Let us know in the comments below. Just share your idea and use the word plan, because committing to that plan is always the first step toward really learning effectively.